my people, can I get a hello? Welcome to another episode of the Hello Effect Podcast with me, your host, Seek, aka Mr. All my people, can I get a hello? Hey, yo, we back with another episode, and today we got a special guest, KELS from BLREGALIA. He's in the building. Welcome to the Hello Effect, man.
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I like to ask all my guests when they come on the pod, like, how's your day going so far?
Today been pretty cool, you know what I mean? A smooth ride up here and everything, you know. So, you know, today so far been pretty cool. Everything been lining up.
Oh, that's what's up. I like to hear that, you know what I mean? Just a little backstory, you know what I mean? I believe it was like last week, you know what I mean? I seen you come on my feed. Mm-hmm. It could have been through Mike or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was very intrigued about seeing a young entrepreneur that looked like me and actually has a clothing line, because, you know, we deal with a lot of artists, you know what I mean, when it comes to music and stuff like that. We also deal with people that got like nonprofits, you know what I mean, that's helping the community, but it's the first time actually interviewing somebody that has a clothing line. You know what I mean? Okay. So just for a little backstory, you know what I mean? Let the people know, I mean, where you from and like your upbringing and stuff like that.
Okay, well, I'm from Philly, so uptown, you know, represent. Shout out the 72nd and Ogon, 7 Deuce, that's where I'm from. My backstory as far as with BLREGALIA, like, you know, it's really based from a hip-hop background. You know, like, of course, I started out doing music, I DJ, rap, I mean, any of the 4 elements of hip-hop, but then it was like, you know, also the creative space. You know, at one point in time, like, you know, when we were doing our music, you know, we were pressing up shirts to go with the music or whatever, stuff like that. Then it started branching off, wanting to be a little more creative. So that's when I came up with BLREGALIA, you know, which is really like, you know, become like royalty. That's one of the acronyms for it. You know, regalia means royal clothing.
Okay, nice.
So, you know, just wanted to press on, you know, something else more individual, like, because like I said before, I had a crew, we were doing our own shirts and stuff like that, you know, but then I wanted to make, you know, more of a imprint of my own. So.
Okay. All right, since you mentioned about the music part of it, you know what I mean, that's how awesome you got started with the clothing thing. Let's take it back then. Like, let's tell us a little something about the music. Like, how did you start? You know what I mean, you said you was a DJ. Was you also a rapper also?
Yeah, I was a rapper first. I mean, if you really want to.
All right, so talk about you, I mean, the rapping situation, and kind of get into the DJ situation.
Okay, so it started out like me and my man KDL. Shout out to DJ KDL. You know, we started making music together. You know, basically, you know, one day found out he was rapping. I was like, I'm rapping. You know, let's go make something. Then next, you know, every week we making songs every week. So then it went from that to, you know, we formed later the crew. Crew was called 7 Deuce. So it was like, you know, basically people around our way, you know. I mean, shout out to Hassan Hussein, Crane, S5, J-Lo, my man Millions, you know, Little. So, you know.
Oh, yeah, I know Millions. Millions the guy that messed with Tone Trump. Do he got like, he wear like glasses, like I think, I don't know how he look now.
It might be another one, yeah. I don't know if it was that. I don't know.
Is it Millions or Millions?
Millions. M-I-L-Y-E-N-Z.
But he from Philly. That's the only
yeah. And my man Wreak Havoc too. So, you know, but like, you know, then we started doing music together, whatever, like that. And then, like, you know, we had our own thing, was running for a while, you know, so.
All right, so what happened with the music thing? Like, why do you, like, put that to the side and, like, you know what, that I'm going to go this different path or whatever?
I think it was more of like a, you know, a time frame thing. Like, you know, we had some success, you know, some independent success. We got looked at with some majors, never got the deal that we totally wanted or whatever like that. So then it's like, you know, life start happening. Yeah. You know, you got to start making different choices or whatever, stuff like that. Like, you want to continue with the music? Is this the path you want to go? And then you make some decisions, and that was the decision that we all kind of made. So I still dibble and dabble in it, you know, here and there. Like, you know, recently I just recorded like a theme song for BLREGALIA or whatever like that. So it's like, no matter what, music and hip hop is always number one. You know, so that's always number one.
But was it like not getting support that you think you did that kind of like, you know what, this shit ain't clicking how I wanted, so I'm gonna just try something else, and hopefully if I get it popping in that, I could probably circle back into music. I see a lot of people do that.
Nah, it wasn't really like more of a circle back thing. It just kind of like, I want to say, died out a little bit. Like, you know, like the group itself, you know what I mean? We wasn't really a group, we were a crew.
Okay.
But, you know, sometimes problems with the crew thing is like, you do certain songs, and then certain people on songs, but it's time to perform, them people not there.
Damn,
Then it's like, you know what I mean, you want to plug and play different songs and stuff like that. It's like, and then you might have one that might be, you feel like the one, you know, but like, you know, everybody's path is different. Like some people like, I don't really want to do this anymore, you know, stuff like that.
So that's what it pretty much was, because y'all started as a collective, as a team or whatever. And
yeah,
I've been in teams and groups and stuff like that, and I feel like everybody ain't on the same page. It kind of brings friction, you know what I mean? And it's more than just the music part of it. It started taking like personal friction and shit like
we
that.
never had no personal friction like that. Shout out to my man Mitchie B too, because he was a big part of that, you know, pushing everything. You know, I think the other problem that we had was like, you know, we knew what we knew, but we didn't know what we didn't know. Meaning that like, you know, we needed someone else to help us get to the next level. We was all like kind of in that mind frame. We're gonna do it ourselves and everything like that. And that's a good mind frame to have, but people have to understand like you still need someone else to walk you in that door.
For sure.
You know, stuff like that. And we tried to do it, you know, individually on our own, but like it got to a ceiling and we couldn't break that glass, but we didn't ask for help or didn't have the right help with us, you know. So
what, like asking for help? Did y'all want to ask people? Because like Philly has, like I feel like Philly has like an open like door when it comes to like music. There's a lot of talent out there. There's a lot of people that, you know what I mean, that's in the industry and stuff like that.
Now, I mean, you know, for a while, like, you know, especially like, you know, we were like early 2000s and stuff like that, late 90s, early 2000s, we was a crew or whatever like that, you know. It was kind of a crash in the barrel thing still back then, you know. It was breaking out of that, you know, but it's like, you know, we didn't have a manager. We were trying to do everything on our own and stuff like that. You know, we should have made some better business choices, and that probably would have got. The music was not a problem. You know, it was like, you know, we put a project out. A month later, we right back in instead of doing more promotion and things like that. You know, that's why I try to tell people, like, you know, whenever I talk to people about music, like, you have to take the time to promote your project.
Yeah, for sure.
You got to get out of your own way, because being a creative, you know, you always want to make something new. You always feel like you got to make something new, but at the same time, it's like, no, you got to take that time to promote. And if you got your peoples around you, whatever, the ones that don't do music, if they down with you, they in your crew, then you got to give them not necessarily jobs, but positions to play to help you get further.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. You know? And I feel like we all need a team. Like, we can't be the artists, because artists, you have to actually create the project. Like, you understand what I'm saying? I can't be worrying about of course I'm a promote, but like that other shit that comes with it. So it's very important for people to have a team. So what's like the time frame? Like, give me a time frame from like, look, I was doing music, then I kind of started doing the clothing thing. Like how many years, or was you implementing the clothing thing with it, but you wasn't taking it serious?
Right, yeah. So like, you know, the clothing thing probably started more like 2012, 2013, just the idea of it, you know. So like we were still doing, me and my crew was still doing shirts and stuff together, because like even though we weren't doing music together, we were still doing music things. Like, you know, we were having parties, we were hosting comedy shows and stuff like that. So like we were still in the mix of a lot of stuff or whatever. So, you know, like we were making shirts around that time. So then around like 2013, between 2015, somewhere around there, that's when the idea of BLREGALIA started to formulate. Like, I know what I want to do, didn't know how I wanted to do it, you know. Then I got with a guy I used to go to school, my man ran art. He was a graphic designer. He was one of the best, you know. He still is one of the best. He just don't do it anymore, you know what I mean?
So you don't work with him no more?
Nah, because he kind of faded to black from the graphic design thing. You know, he wanted to try to do other things. Like, that's the thing about Philly. Like, you know, it's a creative place, you know, and it's a lot of things that you can do. But if you don't get out of that, sometimes you feel like you get stuck.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so then I think he felt like, you know, as far as that art stuff, like, you know, he kind of got stuck. Like, it was just kind of frustrating. He wasn't getting where he wanted to get with it. You know, that's my take on it. Like, he may have, you know what I mean, something totally different to add on to that. But, you know, my opinion from conversations and stuff like that, I think he didn't get what he was wanting to get, and then he wanted to try something else. So, but long story short, with that, you know, then that's when BLREGALIA started to make form.
All right, so, I mean, I know you said you had a crew and stuff like that, but you talk about forming, I mean, your clothing brand, but why wasn't it with your crew if initially y'all was still in the mix and making shirts? Like, you tell us about that, why you decided to take that journey yourself?
Yeah, because, like, you know, a part of it, I think, you know, I had a different vision with certain things I wanted to create. You know, and then with them, it was like, you know, they wanted to do shirts and stuff like that too, but it was like, it was more of a thing, like, it was more of a hobby and fun for them all going in, you know, other things that we were doing or whatever. like that.
Oh, they wasn't really trying to go deep in. You know
Yeah. It was
sometimes to get some quick bucks real quick.
right.
You
It was a hustle.
Exactly. You
It
seen
was
a
a
big
hustle.
vision. Like, look,
Yeah,
yo, this is a brand. Like, we got to take it serious. How we was taking music and stuff like that.
Right.
Was there any type of resentment though? Because even though you could
Nah.
pretty much explain it like that, sometimes it comes like, yo, like, nah, I ain't fucking with him. He always wanted to do it himself.
No. They still supported it. Like all of them wear it and supported and stuff like that. So yeah, no, it was never. That's one thing I could say. It was never like with how we were doing music stuff like that. Even with the clothes or whatever, it was never no conflict within the crew. Like, oh, he's gonna do this and do that. Nah, it wasn't done any of that.
If you could categorize your brand, like, what would you say? Is it streetwear? Is it elegant wear? How would you define your brand?
A lifestyle brand because I have elements of streetwear in there, and I also have like elegance, like or elements of fashion, like higher fashion also. Like, so I do streetwear like shirts, jackets, sweatshirts, and stuff like that. But I also do silk products like silk scarves, silk robes. We also do like some accessories, like I have some silk pillowcases and stuff like that, So like whatever I deem, and I can find that's kind of creative, that'll look decent and then fit from what I can, like different products that I can get, or things that also try to make it look different. You also want to try to stand out a little bit. So it's like I feel like it's more of a compass of a lifestyle brand. Do book bags. I also do like some vegan leather bags for women and stuff like that, and book bags. So different types of things.
Oh, that's what's up. So, I mean, tell us about what it takes. You know what I mean? Because it's expensive. You know what I mean? People think you got the vision. Like, you understand what I'm saying? You got the idea, and it's like, yo, people that starting out think like, yo, if this person could do it, I'm gonna just blow up. Nah, tell them what it takes to even like this start a brand.
So I'm gonna tell you how I started. Like originally when I first started, trying to make BLREGALIA, what I really wanted to do was jeans. Because I felt like that was different,
I ain't seen nobody yet. Like, I mean, as far as like entrepreneurs do any denim yet, so that's dope.
So, but when I looked into it, didn't know it was that many different types of denim, different fills, all types of things. It was like, this might not be the lane or whatever. So then I went back to the shirts, and then like started trying to build from there. But what I tell people, at least with me, like, I know I'm doing it by myself, so it was like, like you said, you're trying to make it cost effective and stuff like that.
Sure.
So what I tried to do is figure out how I can do that, because like when we used to do shirts before, like, one of the biggest problems you run into is like, you buy a bulk pack of shirts or whatever like that, but you'll run out of a certain size.
Yeah.
So then it's like now,
Word.
you got to get more of that size, but then that may not fit into the bulk package that you're trying to get or whatever like that. So what I tried to do, like I started researching print on demand. So that's what I do with my line. I find different print on demand companies that can service me in different ways or whatever. And then if their minimums are low or whatever, then I can get certain products. So I don't have to keep a lot of inventory in that way, it's cost effective. Now, the problem with print on demand, I tell people, like, I'm not one to like hold the game back or hide the game. Thing about print on demand, it's going to cost you more per product, as opposed to like, if you're going somewhere to get shirts printed up in bulk,
exactly.
stuff like that, you know what I mean? But it's cost effective for me because it's just me, right now. Now, once, if it gets bigger or whatever, you start to get bigger orders, then you can start doing bulk orders and stuff like that. So print on demand isn't for everybody, but to me, I feel like it's the easiest way to start.
Okay.
If you're an independent entrepreneur and you by yourself, you don't have like a team or a business backing you or something like that, to me, that's one of the ways to start, on your own.
So, name like some of the things that you felt like, yo, damn, I don't want to. It's frustrating. I don't want to do this anymore, because I know it had to been a point in time where like things get discouraging. That's the same thing with music. I don't know if it's from the support or if it's like the money you spending and stuff like that.
The funny thing, I haven't had that problem because
that's great. I would congratulate you on that. That's what's up.
Because like, and some of my friends tease me, is like, yo, you only like to make clothes for yourself. So it was like, it's a thing where it's like, I'm making some stuff that I would like. That's why I don't feel like, people like make their clothing brands trends and stuff like that. They follow a trend. I'm not following any trends. I like to make things that I would wear, or I think, would look dope. Like if a print on demand company I'm dealing with, they have a certain type, like a silk top. All right, I'm not a woman. I don't really know all women's fashion, stuff like that. But if I think this look dope on a female or something like that, I'm gonna try it. Like, all right, look, maybe I could put one of my designs on that, and that might look decent or whatever like that. So it's like I'm not really following the trend and stuff like that. Like I'm making things that I feel like is dope, and that's what I think is going to keep me going. So it doesn't. I haven't come to a point where like I'm frustrated. It's not where it's going to be yet. Like I like doing it. So
That's what's up. So what's the inspiration behind the designs and stuff like that?
So that's a good question. So the inspiration behind designs is like our slogan has become like royalty. So I wanted in the beginning to make all our images royalty based. So like I have a monarch butterfly design, whatever, that I use for some silk scarves and some women's and some men's wear if they like it. You know what I mean? Like, but the monarch butterfly, like the phrase monarch, have the lion head designs because the lion, king of the jungle. I have some ermine scarves. And ermine scarves are like if you could picture like kings and queens where they wear the white fur with the black dots on it. Those are called like ermine fur. But there's also different variations of it. So I also have that. I have a flower design. It's called the royal bluebell flower. So like everything I try to make royalty based, except for this jacket. This jacket just came with like I'd seen kind of a design, something like that. I was like, well, I'm gonna make this fit me or whatever like that. It also has like a graffiti background almost, the colors and everything like that. So like this is not really royalty based, but it fits, you know what I mean? Like I thought it was dope, so headphones. I thought it was dope, so I definitely wanted to,
Oh yeah, for sure. So other than that, it's not like far as like a message behind your clothing or whatever.
Outside
of the royalty thing,
outside of the royalty thing. Now, like with this jacket, it's the believer jacket. You know what I mean? So the message there is to believe in yourself, and then I put all my slogans on here. But outside of that, the message really is, become like royalty.
Oh, okay. Like far as like marketing and like promotion and stuff like that, like how do you go about that? Like, do you ever think like, yo, when I drop this, because it's different from music or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know what I mean? You drop music, like, damn, they gonna like it. But like clothing, do you feel that same way? Like, yo, how people gonna react? Or you just kind of like, whatever you feel, and I'm gonna put that shit out. Explain that process.
No. I definitely think about that. Okay. You know what I mean? I definitely think about that. And then like, I also sometimes try to do it in a music fashion. Like I make my own commercials and stuff like that. But they're all music backgrounds, everything like it's kind of like hip hop background, with all the commercials that I make. So I film them, adding them up, stuff like that, Also, when I drop them, I try to push them out, like all of them with some music background and everything in that sense. So it's like do some online advertising too or whatever, and then just try to push it out in the street. So it's like everything still kind of has the music background because that's who I am at a core, So like I try to move it in that lane.
All right, so like far as your commercial, is it your song? You work with independent artists, or you do like use mainstream records? Like, how do you do that?
No, so all the stuff is in house. So like some of might be my songs or whatever, or my man DJ KDL, whatever. Like he's still active and making music and stuff like that. So I use some of his stuff. Like I still try to keep it in house. You know what I mean? That's my man. Like I'm still gonna help promote his music or whatever the case may be. Or like if it's an instrumental, like I'll get it from him. Like yo, can you make me a track for this? You know what I mean? Even whether we're rapping on it or not, just give me the track and I'll just put that as the background music or whatever. So
is it in house? What if somebody else like? Fans that happen to see this interview, you know what I mean, wanted to like submit something to you, is that okay? Or you like, nah, I want to work with the people I'm working with? Because people gotta understand, music is this bigger than just doing music, especially these days. You gotta do different avenues and stuff like that. So would you be appealing to?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would definitely. If I like something, I think it's hot. Then
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, so let's talk about that jacket. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like the funny story is. You know what I mean? That's how I found him. You know what I mean? Shout out to my man Mike. You know what I mean? He had
speaking of that,
posted some footage.
One, you know what I mean, for you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, all right. Hello? Appreciate you.
Yeah.
So I discovered this man from Mike, you know what I mean? He went to the Will Smith where he was doing like a little media press run. I don't know if
it was his listening party for his album.
Oh, he dropping the album and This black man came on my screen. He had a dope jacket. You know what I mean? He was presented to Sway in the morning. You know what I mean? And I just admire that. So I just wanted to link up with him and hear his story because, like I said, ain't too many people that's really out there trying to start clothing. Like everybody's trying to be rappers. Nothing wrong for that, but I'm just saying. So, how did you feel at that moment, though? Like, you understand what I'm saying? When you seen him and he actually took the time to really talk to you and take the jacket. Because, you know, sometimes celebrities be like, fuck out of here. I'm good. Like, tell us about that real quick.
No, it was dope, and especially because, like you said, he took the time. So, like, you know, you meet some people, whatever, you give them something that's usually a real quick interaction, whatever. But, like, Sway Star took the time. So, it was really dope. So, I was hype about that. Like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? Then he was like, you know what I mean? Like, what he says that, I like the quality. He said if it wasn't, I wouldn't really take it.
Word,
like,
that's why I caught it. Yeah, that's why I caught it about how you presented it. And I felt like also you wasn't like aggressive with it. You know, because I feel like sometimes when people see a celebrity, they feel like I'm a mixtape. Like, yo, they human like us, you know what I mean? And it's probably 1,000 people doing that shit. So I feel like how you presented yourself, you know what I mean? Said something big about your character.
Yeah, because like, you know, like you said, they're people too. You know, and that, you know, I want somebody to be a comfortable interaction. Like, you know, I'm not trying to take too much of your time or whatever. Like, you know, if you accept it, I appreciate it. If you don't, you know, that's on you. Like, there's one thing about me is like, you know, I'm not mad about losses or whatever, stuff like that. You know, if someone likes your stuff, they're going to like it. If they don't, it's cool. I'm not mad at that. Like, because everyone likes what they like and they have their own preference. So you shouldn't really get too deep into things like that, getting your feelings, whatever. I seen a thing the other day, it was on Cameron's and podcast, whatever. They showed a clip or whatever. Guy tried to get David Robson to sign a jersey. I guess he was kind of busy with it, and the guy dropped the jersey like, F that. You know, it was like, I get it, but at the same time, you know, it is what it is. You know, you just keep it moving.
It's entitlement. You know? Nobody's entitled for nothing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fashion is constantly evolving. How do you stay, you know what I mean, like pretty much in the loop when it comes to your fashion, you know what I mean?
Definitely just try to keep it creative and keep it fresh. You know, like you don't want to repeat certain things over and over again, but at the same time, like, you know, if you feel like you got something classic, you know, you might want to remake it in a sense. You know, so definitely try to, you know, stay fresh. Like, you know, you see what's going on or whatever, but at the same time, like I said, like a lot of things, I just try to think of something that I would want to wear. You know. So that way it's like, say if it's like, you know, a week later you about to go to an event or something like that, like, damn, I need something fresh, you know. Boom, then you try to think of something, whatever. So I give you a quick story, like somebody put me down, you know, to be able to send some merch to Big Meech. So
what's up?
Let him look at the website and everything, you know what I mean? He picked out, you know, some things that he might like or whatever. And then like that day I'm about to send him something, I made something else.
Oh, wow.
You know, it was like, damn, you know what, I think, you know, this might even be the one, you know, something like that. And ironically, it sent him like 3 pieces. The last one that I sent him, that's what he wore.
A word?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, you know what I mean? So stuff like that is like, you know, you just try to stay fresh. It's like something that you would want to do. Like, you know, when you need something new or something fresh. That's what comes back, you know, like almost with the music thing and the creative process, whatever. Like, you know, you got songs out or whatever, but like you want to make something new because you want to hear something new. So, you know.
that's a fact. All right. So like far as like the whole vision behind the brand, like what's the future for your brand? Like
BLRWORLD. So the name of the brand is BLREGALIA, you know, but one of the slogans and like all like my social media is BLRWORLD. So it was like, you know, I'm trying to influence the world. That's what I want to do. Like, you know, have a real impact, you know. I'm not saying I'm trying to be the biggest brand, you know, the only brand of this and that, like, you know, but I want everybody to see it and, you know, it also has an influence on them, you know. So that's what it is, BLRWORLD. That's what I want.
Oh, all right. So, would you ever get back into music though, or that part of your life is over? You just want to focus on, I mean, your clothing thing, or
in some form of fashion, I'm always going to be involved with music. You know, like, you know, whether it's I love to help people with their music. Like, I know some younger artists, whatever, like that. Like, I'll call them out of the blue that I know, like, yo, you know, you need to do this, you need to do that, this way, whatever, like that. Like, I always try to be a part of music. I DJ now sometimes with, like, small events and stuff like that or whatever. So it's like, my hand is always going to be in music in some form of fashion. I think I don't see no other way outside of that. So, you know, now as far as like me recording music and all that, I don't know, you know. So it's like, I mean, sometimes I get the urge, and sometimes it's like, you know, today I might want to, and tomorrow it's like, nah, you know, stuff like that, you know. But like, it's always a passion there with the music, you know. So I don't think that's ever gonna die.
oh yeah, for sure. Like, far as like, do you like reach out to anybody like particular that you want to see in your brand? Because this like you know how it would look or how it would look on you, but do you always like, damn, yo, I want to reach out to fucking Jay-Z. I see Jay-Z in this shit.
Yeah. I've done it before, you know, not heavy, like, or like if I know they're coming to town or something like that, and I'm figuring like, is it an opportunity there? Like, you know, maybe I can reach out to this person, something like that, or maybe I can get there and get them something. Then yeah, it's definitely some people, you know, I would love to see in my stuff, like, you know.
What about clothing stores and stuff like that? You want to get your stuff in clothing stores? You just good with this having like selling direct to consumer, like, you know what I mean? You go to my website, purchase something.
So I definitely want my stuff in clothing stores. I don't know if I necessarily want a store, you know, like it's like a, you know, a hard thing. I know it sounds like a contradiction, like, oh, you want stuff in stores, you don't want a store, but it's like, you know, when you look around, you see a lot of brick and mortar stores, like, you know, they're closing, like the malls are dying, you know, stuff like that. Now you do see boutiques and stuff like that out there. And so I would love to get my stuff in stores. I have my stuff in some stores before, you know, so, but I also like, you know, the direct to consumer move. You know, I definitely like that, you know, because like you can get a pulse and feel of what people really like and what they want also, you know.
All right, so name something that you'll do different. You know what I mean? Like, cause I understand that. You know what I mean? You learn as you go, and like you, like a lot of people like that come from where we come from. We don't go to school for this shit. Sometimes we gravitate to it. You know what I mean? I'm a graduate of YouTube University. You know what I mean? Doing it yourself and stuff like that. So for anybody that's want to do what you're doing, like far as starting a brand, tell them some of the things that you might face. You know what I mean? Just starting up.
You definitely want to network. You definitely want to network. I feel like, you know, with the music thing with my crew, like that was one of our, you know, downfalls or whatever. We were cool people. We were so insulated. You know, we didn't network enough, you know, and sometimes like, you know, to get where you want to go, sometimes you need somebody to get you there. You know, you're going to need help, and not like necessarily asking for help, but somebody on the same path as you, and they just may know more than you or know something different that you do. So it's like you definitely need to network, you know, and reach out, you know, make yourself available. You can't be shy. You can't be afraid to fail or anything like that. Like you have to put yourself out there. You have to put your brand out there, and you have to go for it, because like no one's going to look out for you the way you will yourself.
That's a fact.
So you got to go for it.
So when would you at a time would you feel like, damn, yo, I did what I was supposed to do, like far as your brand, like damn, I made it? Is it a time where you felt like, damn, like yo, yeah, this is what I built and I'm here?
I don't know that, but the one thing I will say is that, like, you know, when you get the feedback, sometimes, like, you know, I've done some fashion shows before, whatever, like that, and then just like people out of the blue will come up to you like, yo, I like your stuff, like, oh, that was really dope what you had out there, like, you know what I mean? That feedback helps you keep going, whatever, like that. Especially if it's from somebody that you don't know and they don't have a reason to say anything to you. So it's not like they're trying to get anything to gain from it, whatever the case may be, but it's like, you know, they're just being genuine with the feedback. Stuff like that, that helps propel you and keep you going.
All right, before we get up out of here, you know what I mean? Let everybody know where they could follow you, you know what I mean? Name your website, you know what I mean? They're trying to reach out to probably give you some music so you have your commercials, or if they just want to buy some stuff, I mean, where can they reach you at?
Everything is BLRWORLD.com or BLR World. The website is BLRWORLD.com, Instagram BLR World, Facebook BLR World, Twitter, TikTok, Threads, any social media is BLR World. Emails contact@BLR World. So if you're trying to get at us, BLR World is where we're at.
That's what's up. I want to thank you again for, you know what I mean, taking time out of your day, you know what I mean?
Nah, thanks for having me.
You know what I mean?
really
Sit down with me,
appreciate it.
let people know, you know what I mean, what you're doing, you know what I mean? And we support you, you know what I mean? Especially a black entrepreneur, you know what I mean? Clothing line, BLRWorld.com, you said?
Yeah, BLRWorld.com.
Make sure y'all check out this episode, you know what I mean? I want to thank y'all again for tuning in, yo.